our stability is not sagittally minded. Our stabilization of our neck is rotationally minded. The minute you strengthen a sagittal plane of muscle in the neck, the more likely you're going to be in it. You're going to want more sagittal plane activity. The minute you start rotating with that flexion extension, the more likely you're going to shift your masses from side to side. So keep that in mind every time you put a program together. Pure plane activity of the neck does not exist. That's not a norm. Triplanar activity of the neck is the norm. So that sticks toothpick, that toothpick is in between the front of the back of the spinal canal or the front of that foramen magnum. That is critical activity. Things swell up. I know they do. Barometric pressure changes things. But the freedom where that new toothpick is required by your system's need for relaxation. During protraction of the cranium, the lower to mid-cervical spine flexes as the upper cranial cervical OA joint extends, resulting in various degrees of cranial flexion. You want to put a smiley face by that. During protraction of the cranium, the lower to mid-cervical spine has to flex. When I tie my shoe, I would have to protract and flex. As the upper cranial cervical OA joint is extending, it extends very, very little. Skip very little, 5 degrees of extension. Means your system can expand. 15 to 20 to 30 to 40 degrees of extension means your system is already extended. But just a few degrees of extension means your system can what? Rotate. The dens can play. Things can resonate. Because when I bend over to tie my shoe or pick something up or squat, my neck can actually flex. It can actually start from 30 degrees of cervical extension, which is 0 degrees, and flex 30 degrees and come back up to normal resting state of 0. That's huge. I want people to learn how to flex over flexed necks. Can you hear what I just said? I want people to learn how to flex what was overflexed before I taught them how to flex. Because an overflexed neck doesn't mean you never have to flex. You're already flexed. You're wearing accessories. I want to put you in a position and teach you how to what? Flex. Skip.
Yeah, Ron, that's great. You're just saying you want to be able to flex a neck from a place of neutrality
That's
in
right.
the cervical spine. That's what you're saying. Is that
Totally.
right?
Totally.
And it's kind of similar to, you want to have a person to be able to inhale from a state of exhalation, but you don't want to inhale from a state of inhalation because you become hyperinflated.
But the word extension I outlined and underlined here is going to occur at the OA area. You're going to overextend. And your extension is now not coming from 30 degrees of normal extension of a cervical spine. It's coming from a cervical spine that has 2 sites of that reversed. So now you can't extend at this intercervical segment anymore. This is your new intercervical segment, the OA joint. And now all your OA extension is coming from, all your neck extension is coming from O on A, because intercervical extension is lost. You're overflexed. Your power of extending through the neutral neck doesn't exist. So your back has to get flat to pull the 4th rib through the 1st rib back. Your spine knows that collarbone, that clavicle's got to rise. Your head's got to be pulled forward. And as that happens, atlases start to shift back with respect to the O's. Arnold comes along, Chiari. Throat starts to come along, hyoid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the things we talked about today. This slide, page 24, overuse of cranial cervical muscle for extension. We all have to have extension of our neck. That's why the good Lord put 30 degrees there for you. 30 degrees of neutrality means you will always have extension. But if your head is starting to move forward, as your spine is moving back, you're going to lose that freedom for extension of your intercervical vertebrae. Hand, index, and my left palm is taking your head and moving the entire head to which way, everybody? The right. And my right middle fingers, doesn't have to be perfectly the index finger, is bracing that activity, is staying there. So Hannah, I'm going to come up. There's T1 on you, Hannah. If I hurt you, let me know. Okay, sorry. I come up, there's my index finger. And I even got my third, fourth finger there as well. Thumbs there as well. Hands under her left occiput. And I'm going to stabilize right there as I do what with that head? Take it to the right. Laterally flex to the right. I'm not pushing generally with my right hand, but I don't want to let go with my right hand, because if I do, the entire neck is going to go to the right, as you could see. I have to have a fulcrum there. She's primarily working on getting the air out. And if she gets the air out and she has some posterior rotation, I'm good. And this one, I'm good. If she didn't, I would use her hamstrings. I'd say, can you kind of just use your hamstring, use your legs just to pick up that pelvis. But she's doing great. So we're going to keep going on. In other words, she can exhale, and the pelvis didn't go forward, Jen. The pelvis went back. That's the key. Keep going.
Simultaneously, rotate your chin and neck towards the ceiling by looking upward with your eyes.
So she's going to take, and I'm going to take my hand on this side of her. She's going to look, bring her chin forward as far forward. Open your mouth up a little bit. Chin forward some more. Chin forward, not your head, your chin. Chin forward. I don't want to hurt you. And then look up there and look up as far as you can. Okay, you're doing a great job. In fact, she's doing so good. I'm just going to help her a little bit right there. Okay, relax. So everything, her chin went forward. As her chin goes forward, she's pulling herself up and she's looking back. And now she's also rotating this pelvis in a posterior direction. Okay?
With your mouth slightly opened, look down toward your feet without moving or rotating your head.
So she's then going to look down towards her feet without moving her mouth, with her eyes. Look down towards the feet with your eyes. Look towards your feet with your eyes. Okay? And she would hold that. Okay? Go ahead, Jen.
Protrude your jaw forward and to the left, keeping your mouth slightly open.
So now she's going to protrude and go to the left with her jaw. That would be her right lateral pterygoid that's moving her head to the right and her mandible to the left. Okay? Go ahead.
Hold this position 5 seconds. Relax your hamstrings, pelvis, head, neck, eyes, and mandible.
His dad and him are really big in this joint. I am too, but I'm not going to worry about this joint until I know this joint's operations controlled first by the neck. Therefore, this is called a mandibular, did you see the word? Occipital. This is a mandibular occipital orthotic that allows your occlusion to not be precise. It allows you to move. It's designed for those people who require atlantoreferencing from occlusal orthotics that complements and guides neutrality of the cervical and cranial bones and joints. It allows you to functionally move without being locked up. The vertical dimension or height of this orthotic should be very, very low.